We are live. So first of all, one of the things I haven't talked about yet is these things called even or odd functions. The first thing I want you to write is this. An even function is a graph that is symmetrical with the y-axis. Okay, write that down. Even function is a graph.
So like question?
Nope. An even function is a graph. That's what it is. It is a graph that is symmetrical with the y-axis. Okay? A lot of parabolas are even functions, but not all of them. Okay? So if I flip back the page here in just a minute, and you can see some of these that are going to be even. So if I go all the way back a couple of chapters, this one's even. If we're to flip it over the y-axis, it rotates onto itself, right? This one is even because if we flip it, it flips onto itself over the y-axis, right? This one's even. Same thing. If we were to flip it or rotate it, it rotates over the y-axis, right? But some of these are not. This one's not even because if you rotate it over the y-axis, it won't rotate onto itself, okay? So it has to be even. It has to be right on the y-axis to be even, doesn't it, okay? This one's not, okay? This one's not. Take a look at some more of these that we've done. This one is not, because it's not on the y-axis. So this one's not even at all, okay? This one is not, because it's not on the y-axis, okay? Now, to be an odd function, okay? Now, first of all, x squareds oftentimes are going to be even functions. To be an odd function, you got to watch this, you got to write this down. To be odd, it will be a rotation at the origin. That's at the point 0, 0. 180 degrees on to itself. And I'll draw some pictures so you can see that, okay? I want to draw a picture so you can see it. So you can see an odd function, okay? Alright? I'm going to draw a picture so you can see one, okay? Here is an odd function. This one's odd. And it, sure enough, is a y equals, this is a y equals a negative x cubed equation, all right? It has an odd exponent. But the main thing is, see if you can visualize this, like a pinwheel. Like a pinwheel. Spencer, stop talking. Like a pinwheel, if you were to take and rotate this graph 180 degrees, right? Just right there at the origin, it will spin onto itself. Can you visualize that? If you were to take this graph and spin it 180 degrees, it spins onto itself. That's what makes it odd. Now the hard part is if you don't have a graph in just an equation, you've got two choices. One, you could grab a graphics calculator and see what it looks like, okay? And we haven't talked about the graphics calculator yet, but we will, okay? The other is there's a test, okay? And let's take a look at what the tests are, okay? So we got these tests that say even. So if it's even, then negative f of negative x will equal f of x. Okay, what does that mean? What does that mean? Well, if you were to make every x negative, it will make it back the way it was. Well, what does that mean? Well, let me show you an example, okay? Here's my first example, okay? Watch this. If I have y equal x squared plus 4, okay? So, Spencer, if I were to make every x into a negative x. That's what they're saying. Make every x. So let me test this. So this is my test to see it's even. So if I go y equals every x becomes a negative x. Okay. So what I want to do is make every x into a negative x. And I know a negative times a negative is a positive, right? So this turns out to be exactly the same. If you can do this, I'm going to say this carefully. If you can make the x's negative and simplify it to the original equation, that's the test to prove it's going to be even. I'll say this again. I want you guys to get this. So sometimes you can't graph these. Sometimes if they're graphed, they're easy. So if you make every x negative, and it simplifies the original, then it's even. Okay. Now for odd, it's a little different. Okay, the test for odd is this. If you make the x's negative, it makes the whole equation negative. Okay, so, all right, let's take a look at, as an example, y equals x cubed. All right, that is an odd function. Okay, the graph looks something like this. I'll show you what the graph looks like. Put the graph on the side, and I'll show you what it looks like. Okay, this function looks like this. And if I look at that graph, here's x cubed. If I were to take this and spin it 180 degrees, it's going to spin, same thing, it spins onto itself. So I know it's odd, but let's say we don't have the graph. Let's see how the test works. So let's make every x negative. So I'm going to go y equals, parentheses, negative x cubed. Okay, you with me? Hold on, Cody, let me finish this and I'll take a question, okay? So make every x negative. I did that. So what's a negative times a negative times a negative? It's a negative, right? So I'd have y equals a negative x cubed. Hold on. If I bring the negative over here, I'd have a negative y equals x cubed. Okay, so the test says if you make every x negative, and in the end it makes the y, or the f of x negative, it's odd. And we can see that it is odd, okay? Now, what we have today in our computer is, and we're going to work on this today and tomorrow, but we got a little quiz in there.